What is up, toy fans? Kyle here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Power Rangers event exclusive SH Figuarts Red Ranger from Bandai Tamashii Nations with the likeness of Austin St. John. And in honor of Power Morphicon Week, I hope you enjoy this video review. Alright, starting with the Red Ranger, you can see we actually have a plethora of accessories. We have 8 hands in total, which is pretty dang good. We have an extra head, which actually can also serve as a prop that the Ranger can hold on to. You have all forms of the Ranger stick or the Blade Blaster. You have it in its Ranger stick mode. You have it in its sword or dagger mode. And then, of course, you have the actual gun mode right there. And last but not least, you do have a well-detailed power sword. Which looks great. It's got all the details. It's got the Ranger coin right there, and it looks like a T-Rex. There it is. And it looks like a T-Rex. Really nice detail. Now with the hands, you do have a pair of fists. You have a pair of loose holding things hands, tight holding things hands, Ranger stick hands, and of course, power sword holding hands. Now looking at the figure itself, of course, what makes it unique is this head sculpt of Austin St. John. There it is. Now I do believe this is one of them newfangled 3D printed. The head itself I don't think was 3D printed, but I do believe the texture, the eyes, the face detail, a lot of the shading that was done by printing the face on there. It's kind of a hit and miss, to be honest. And the printing and the DPI is pretty low, which means you do have a lot of like little dots that you can see if you look really up close, and it kind of makes the head sculpt a little bit dirty. Though I do have to say the 3D printing does do its job in representing Austin St. John. Basically, for the rest of the body, it is identical to the previous release of the Power Ranger SH Figuarts. This is the 1.0 body. The main difference, of course, if the whole set is this head sculpt right here. That's basically why you want it. That's why it is an exclusive. Apart from that, this is the 1.0 SH Figuart body, so you've got the same articulation. You've got, of course, the ball joint in the head, and of course the universal joint right there. You can get a nice range of motion. You can get a look all over. You do have the arms. This is on a ball joint and a universal joint as well, so you can get him to pull his arm back. You can get any sort of movements, but of course you do have these shoulder pads, which are there to not break the sculpt, and you do have to kind of learn to pose around them because they do get in the way. So when you're posing the arm, you have to pull it out almost completely out of the socket, figure out what you're going to do with it, and then push it back in, and then reposition everything. And that's kind of the downside of these 1.0 bodies. Another downside is, of course, with a lot of the double joints, you do have these gaps right here created, so the breaks in the sculpt are not very clean. But continuing with the articulation, you do have a waist joint right there. The arm can move in and out. You have a double joint at the elbow. You have a ball joint at the wrist, of course, and then you can pull the wrist off and interchange it with any other wrist. You have a waist cut right there, so you can get a nice turn for the most part. The legs can pop out. Again, they're on that double joint, which allows them to do some pretty high kicks and some pretty good rider kicks, actually. But again, it's the same deal as the arm, where you kind of have to pull it out first, pose it, push it back in. Knees, you have full range of motion, but again, of course, you have that bad cut right there, which looks bad but gets the job done. No boot cut, surprisingly. However, the feet are actually very, very effective. You can move them left and right. You can move them forward and back. You have the heel articulation right there. So overall, a lot of articulation. Very pleased. Very happy to have this figure after missing out so many times on the original releases of the SH Figuarts. On the back, you do have 2 holes right there. One in the buttocks, right there in the butthole area. And then you have one in the back for a Tamashii Ultra Act stand if you did want to, you know, display them on a stand, give them a nice dynamic pose. Of course, you can also take the Ranger stick. This just pegs right here into his holster. Though it is a tight fit, it feels like I'm scratching the paint off when I put that in there. Let's get him to hold the sword. And if you're no stranger to SH Figuarts, the head just pops off and you can use this, or you can have him actually hold his helmet if you want to, which is kind of cool. But the head just pops in and off just like any other SH Figuarts. And there you go. Now you've got your Red Ranger. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for this review. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this quick look at the SH Figuarts event exclusive Red Ranger. This will be available this weekend at Power Morphicon, and it will also be available at many other conventions. Based on the trend, it looks like it's going to be available at pretty much all of the conventions that the Dragon Ball Tour are also at. So any place where Bluefin Distribution has just a large booth, you can probably find these guys. So these will hopefully be a lot more available than a lot of their other con exclusives, and you know, those who missed out should be able to pick these up for fairly reasonable, probably still higher than retail, but less than the original Power Ranger SH Figuarts. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.